The call came at 2:17 a.m. I remember because I was staring at the clock, another sleepless night in my apartment, when my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in a decade. Mom. My finger hovered over the decline button. 10 years of silence, and now she calls in the middle of the night? But something made me answer. Hello? My voice cracked. Elsie is sick. You're the only one who can save her. 6 words. That's all it took to shatter the carefully constructed walls I'd built around my past. Who's Elsie? I asked, though my chest tightened with a strange premonition. Silence stretched between us. Then, your sister's daughter. She has leukemia, and she needs a bone marrow transplant. We've all been tested. None of us match. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. My sister's daughter? Rebecca has a child? Yes, Elsie is 10. 10 years old. The math wasn't lost on me. 10 years since I'd been banished from my family. 10 years since the affair. 10 years since I'd made the biggest mistake of my life by falling in love with my sister's husband. Why would I be a match if none of you are? I asked, though I already knew the answer. My heart pounded so hard I could barely hear my mother's response. I think you know why, Audrey. I was 17 when it started. Rebecca was 24 and had just married James, a charming architect with a smile that could light up a room. He was everything I thought I wanted in a future husband. Kind, ambitious, handsome. They'd moved into a house just down the street from our parents. I'd spend weekends there sometimes when Rebecca was working late shifts at the hospital. James would be home, working on his designs, and we'd talk. Just talk. About books and music and dreams. He listened to me in a way no one else did. He didn't see me as Rebecca's annoying little sister. He saw me. It was innocent at first. But I was a teenager with a crush, and he was a man who was flattered by the attention. Looking back now, at 31, I see how wrong it was, how he should have known better. But at 17, I thought I was so mature, so ready for an adult relationship. The first kiss happened in their kitchen. Rebecca was at a medical conference for the weekend. I'd come over to feed their cat. James had been drinking. Not drunk, but loose enough to lower his inhibitions. I was helping him with dinner, and he reached around me to grab a spoon, and suddenly we were too close, breathing the same air. I can't stop thinking about you, he whispered. I should have left. Instead, I kissed him back. It continued for months. Secret meetings, stolen moments, whispered promises. He told me he'd married too young, that he and Rebecca were already growing apart, that he'd never felt this way about anyone. I believed him because I wanted to, because at 17 I thought this forbidden romance was the great love story of my life. We were careful, or so we thought, until the day Rebecca came home early from her shift and found us together on the couch in their living room. Her scream still echoes in my nightmares. What followed was chaos. Rebecca called our parents. They arrived to find her hysterical, James stammering excuses, and me, frozen, unable to defend the indefensible. You're no longer my daughter, my father said that night, his voice cold as ice. Pack your things and get out. Rebecca wouldn't even look at me. My mother cried, but did nothing to stop my father as he threw my clothes into a suitcase. James disappeared during the commotion, not even a goodbye, just gone, leaving me to face the consequences alone. I went to my high school friend's house that night. A week later, I was on a bus to Chicago with $800 and a broken heart. I never went back. Why now? I asked my mother, pacing my small apartment. After 10 years of nothing? Not even a birthday card? Audrey, please. She's dying. My mother's voice cracked. Whatever happened between us, this is an innocent child. Is she... I couldn't finish the sentence. Yes, she's James's daughter, biologically. Biologically what? I demanded. Another long pause. The doctors need a close biological match. They've tested everyone. You're our last hope. I need time to think, I said, and hung up before she could respond. I sat on my bed staring at the wall, at the life I'd built after being cast out. College diploma, photos of friends who'd become my substitute family. A decade of holidays spent alone telling myself I was better off without them. And now this. A child, a niece, or something more. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Children's Memorial Hospital, Chicago. We're in room 412. Please come. They were here, in Chicago, where I'd been living all these years. Had they known? Had they been avoiding me in the same city all this time? I changed into jeans and a sweater, grabbed my keys, and headed out. It was nearly 4 a.m., but I couldn't wait. I needed answers. The hospital was quiet at that hour. I found room 412 easily. Through the small window in the door, I could see a small figure in the bed, hooked up to machines. A woman sat beside her, head bowed. Rebecca. She looked up as I entered, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. She'd aged. Not badly, but there were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. Her hair was shorter. "Audrey," she whispered. "You came. I'm here for her," I said, nodding toward the sleeping child. "Not for you." The girl stirred slightly, and I got my first look at Elsie. My heart stopped. She had my eyes, my exact eyes, and James's nose. The resemblance was unmistakable. "She's mine, isn't she?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Rebecca looked down. "Biologically, yes. She's your daughter." The room spun. I gripped the doorframe to steady myself. "How?" I demanded. I wasn't pregnant." "You were," Rebecca said. "You just didn't know it when you left. Mom found out when they took you for that physical before you moved. She called me right away." "And no one thought to tell me?" My voice rose, and Elsie stirred again. "Shh," Rebecca cautioned. "Please, not here. We can talk outside." In the hallway, I leaned against the wall, trying to process this bombshell. I had a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter I'd never known about, a daughter who was dying. "Why?" I asked again. "Why keep this from me?" "You were 17, Audrey, a child yourself. You'd just run away to Chicago. You had no job, no support. What were you going to do with a baby?" "That should have been my choice," I hissed. "Maybe," Rebecca conceded. "But I thought, it was for the best. James and I were already married. We could provide for her. You couldn't." "So, you just took my baby? Pretended she was yours?" "It wasn't like that," Rebecca said defensively. "We were going to tell you eventually, but then time passed and it got harder." "Where's James?" I asked suddenly. "Why isn't he here?" Rebecca's expression hardened. "He left 4 years ago, ran off with his secretary. Classic, right?" She laughed bitterly. "He doesn't even call Elsie anymore." Somehow, that didn't surprise me. James had always been a coward. He'd run from the fallout of our affair, and now he'd run from his responsibilities as a father. "So, all this time," I said, "you've been raising my daughter as your own, letting her think I'm just her aunt who abandoned the family." "She doesn't know about you," Rebecca admitted. "She thinks you're a cousin who moved away before she was born." The betrayal cut deep, not just taking my child, but erasing me entirely from her life. "And now you need me to save her," I said coldly. "Convenient." "Audrey, please. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but Elsie is innocent in all of this. She's a wonderful girl, smart, kind. She loves art and science. She wants to be a vet, and she's—" Rebecca's voice broke. "She's running out of time." I looked through the window at the small figure in the hospital bed. My daughter, my flesh and blood, sick and suffering, while I'd been living my life, unaware she even existed. "What do I need to do?" I asked. The testing was simple. A cheek swab, some blood work. We'd know in a few days if I was a match. I was allowed to visit Elsie during this time, introduced as Cousin Audrey, who was in town and wanted to say hello. She was weak, her skin pale, but her eyes, my eyes, lit up when she smiled. You draw? She asked, noticing the sketchbook I'd brought. A little, I said. I hear you like art, too. She nodded eagerly. Can you show me something? I opened my sketchbook and showed her a drawing of the Chicago skyline at sunset. She studied it with an intensity that made my heart ache. That's really good, she said. Can you teach me? So, I did. For the next hour, I showed her how to shade, how to create perspective. She was a quick learner, focused despite her obvious fatigue. You're a natural, I told her, must run in the family. She beamed at that. Mom can't draw at all. She says I must get it from Dad's side. I forced a smile. Maybe. After Elsie fell asleep, I found Rebecca in the cafeteria, staring into a cup of coffee. She's amazing, I said, sitting across from her. Yes, she is, Rebecca agreed. I've done my best. Audrey, despite everything. What will you tell her if I'm a match? She'll have questions about why her cousin is the perfect donor. Rebecca sighed. I don't know, I just want her to live. We'll figure out the rest later. That's not good enough, I said firmly. She deserves the truth. The truth? Rebecca laughed bitterly. That her biological mother had an affair with her father when she was still in high school? That she's the product of a family scandal? That's a lot to put on a sick child. Not the gory details, I said. But she should know who I am, who we all are to each other. Rebecca looked at me for a long moment. You want to be in her life now? It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. She's my daughter. She's my daughter, Rebecca said fiercely. I raised her. I was there for every fever, every nightmare, every school play. I'm the one who's been by her side through this nightmare. Where were you? Where you put me, I shot back. Cut off, thrown away. You all made that choice, not me. You made your choice when you slept with my husband. Heads turned in the cafeteria. Rebecca lowered her voice. You were my sister, my baby sister, and you betrayed me in the worst possible way. The old guilt resurfaced. I was 17, Rebecca, a teenager. He was 26, an adult, your husband. Which one of us should have known better? Rebecca seemed to deflate. You're right. I blamed you more than him. It was easier, I guess. I loved him so much. I wanted to believe he was seduced, not the seducer. We were both wrong, I admitted. But Elsie is innocent in all this, and I want to know her, not to replace you, but to be part of her life. If I'm a match, if I can save her, I want that chance. Rebecca was quiet for a long time. Let's wait for the test results, she finally said. One crisis at a time. 3 days later, we got the news. I was a perfect match. The procedure was scheduled for the following week. Bone marrow donation isn't a simple process. There would be injections to increase my stem cell count, then a surgical procedure to extract the marrow. Recovery would take weeks. Are you sure about this? My boss asked when I requested medical leave. That's a lot to go through for a family that cast you out. I'm not doing it for them, I said. I'm doing it for her. The night before the procedure, I sat with Elsie while Rebecca went home to shower and change. Elsie was playing a video game, her thin fingers moving deftly over the controller. Are you scared? She asked suddenly, pausing the game. About tomorrow? A little, I admitted. But it's worth it. Why? She asked. Why would you do this for me? We barely know each other. The question caught me off guard. I'd been so focused on my own feelings, I hadn't considered what this must look like to her. A relative stranger offering to undergo a painful procedure on her behalf. Because we're family, I said, and that means something. She studied me with those eyes, my eyes, too perceptive for a child. You look like me, she said. Mom says I look like Dad, but I don't think so. I look like you. My heart raced. You think so? She nodded. Are you really my cousin? I glanced at the door, half expecting Rebecca to burst in. What do you think? I asked carefully. I think there's a secret, Elsie said. Everyone whispers when they think I'm asleep, and Mom cries a lot when she thinks I can't see. There are some complicated adult things that happened before you were born, I said. Things that aren't your fault at all. Am I your daughter? She asked bluntly. I froze. Why would you ask that? I heard Grandma and Mom arguing. Grandma said, she has a right to know her real mother. I thought she meant if I died, but then I started thinking, is that why you're the only match? Because you're my real mom? Tears filled my eyes. This child, this brilliant, perceptive child, had pieced it together on her own. Yes, I whispered. Biologically, I am your mother, but Rebecca is your mom in all the ways that matter. She raised you. She loves you. Then, why didn't you want me? Elsie asked, her voice small. Oh, Elsie, no. I took her hand. I didn't know about you. I was very young when you were conceived. I left town, and by the time anyone knew I was pregnant, I was gone. They made a decision they thought was best for everyone, especially you. So, you didn't give me away? No, I said firmly. I would never have given you away if I'd known. She absorbed this. Does this mean I have two moms now? Before I could answer, Rebecca appeared in the doorway. From her expression, I knew she'd heard. Yes, Rebecca said, coming to sit on Elsie's other side. If that's what you want. Elsie looked between us. Is that why you guys don't talk? Because of me? No, Rebecca said quickly. That's because of grown-up mistakes that have nothing to do with you. You are the best thing that ever happened to either of us. So, you're not mad? Elsie asked uncertainly. I'm not mad at you, Rebecca said. I've been mad at Audrey for a long time, but not about you. Never about you. And I've been mad at your mom, too, I admitted. But being angry for 10 years is exhausting, and none of it matters as much as making sure you get better. Elsie squeezed both our hands. Then, can we all be a family after I get better? Rebecca and I exchanged a look over her head. There was so much unresolved between us, so much hurt and betrayal. But maybe for Elsie's sake we could find a way forward. We'll work on it, Rebecca promised, one step at a time. The procedure was long and painful, but successful. My bone marrow was a perfect match for Elsie. The doctors were optimistic about her prognosis. Recovery was slow, for both of us. I spent weeks in pain, unable to work, relying on friends to help with meals and chores. Elsie remained in the hospital, her body adjusting to the transplant. During this time, my mother finally visited my apartment. It was awkward, 10 years of silence standing between us. I'm sorry, she said finally, for not telling you about Elsie, for letting your father cut you off, for everything. You could have reached out, I said. Any time in the last decade. I know. She looked down at her hands. Your father is traditional, unforgiving. I was afraid of losing him if I disobeyed. So, you chose him over me. Yes, she admitted. I did. It was wrong, and I'm sorry. And Dad? Is he sorry too? She hesitated. He doesn't know I'm here. He doesn't know you're the donor. I told him it was an anonymous match through the registry. The hurt was fresh again. So, nothing's changed. I'm still the family disgrace. He'll come around, once he sees how you've grown up, how you saved Elsie. I don't need his approval anymore, I said. I built a life without it. A good life? She asked, looking around my modest apartment. Yes, I said firmly. I have a job I love, friends who support me. I'm taking night classes to finish my degree. It's not perfect, but it's mine. She nodded slowly. I'd like to be part of it if you'll let me. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. 3 months after the transplant, Elsie was allowed to come home. By then, Rebecca and I had established a tentative truce, centered around our shared concern for Elsie's recovery. She wants to see your apartment, Rebecca told me one day during a hospital visit. She has a million questions about you, your life, what you were like as a kid. What have you told her? The truth. That you were creative, stubborn, always drawing or writing stories. That you once set up a neighborhood newspaper when you were 8 and exposed Mrs. Grayson for not picking up after her dog. I laughed, surprised she remembered. The Maple Street Monitor. I got in so much trouble for that. You were fearless, Rebecca said. I always admired that about you. I wasn't fearless, just reckless. There's a difference. Maybe. She hesitated. Elsie asked if she could stay with you sometimes, once she's stronger. The offer stunned me. What did you tell her? That we'd need to work out the details, that you have your own life, but that I wouldn't be opposed to it. You'd trust me with her? I asked. She's your daughter too, Rebecca said simply. And you've proven that you care about her well-being. So, yes, I'd trust you. It was more than I dared hope for. A chance to know my daughter, to be part of her life. We'll need boundaries, Rebecca continued. Clear rules about everything, and I don't want her confused about who her parents are. I understand, I said. You're her mom. I'm just bonus mom. Rebecca's lips curved slightly. Bonus mom. I think she'd like that. The first time Elsie stayed overnight at my apartment, I was a nervous wreck. I'd cleaned obsessively, bought healthy snacks, borrowed a rollaway bed from a friend. I wanted everything to be perfect. She arrived with a small suitcase and her favorite stuffed elephant. Can we order pizza? She asked immediately. Sure, I said, relieved by the normal request. What kind do you like? Pepperoni and pineapple. I grimaced. Pineapple, really? Mom hates it too, she said with a mischievous grin. Says it's a crime against pizza. Smart woman, your mom, I said. But you'll let me get it anyway? It's your pizza night, I conceded. Pineapple it is. Later, as we sat on the couch eating our pizza, half pineapple for her, half normal for me, she started asking questions. Did you love my dad? She asked between bites. I nearly choked. That's a complicated question, Elsie. Mom says I can ask you anything, that you'll tell me the truth. She said that? I asked, surprised. Elsie nodded. She says lying is what hurt everyone before. That we need to be honest now. She's right, I said. Okay, truth. I thought I loved your dad when I was very young. But I was too young to know what real love is. And what happened between us was wrong. He was married to your mom, and I was just a kid myself. But if it didn't happen, I wouldn't exist, Elsie pointed out. That's true, I acknowledged. And I can never regret anything that led to you, but I regret hurting your mom. She didn't deserve that. Elsie considered this. Mom says she forgives you, that you were just a kid and Dad was the adult who should have known better. I was surprised to hear Rebecca had taken that stance. Your mom is very wise, I said. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep, Elsie confided. I think she misses Dad. I'm sure she does, I said carefully. It's hard when someone you love leaves. He hasn't called me since I got sick, Elsie said, her voice small. Not even once. My heart broke for her. I'm sorry, Elsie. That's not fair to you. Mom says he's not good with hard things, that he runs away. That sounds about right, I agreed. But that's his loss, because you're pretty amazing. She smiled, but her eyes were sad. Do you think he'll ever come back? I don't know, I said honestly. But I can promise you this. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for as long as you want me in your life. Forever? She asked. Forever, I promised. Later, as she slept on the rollaway bed, I stood watching her, my daughter, the child I never knew I had. the miracle that had brought me back to a family I thought was lost to me forever. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. "Everything okay?" I replied. "All good. She's asleep. We had pineapple pizza." 3 dots appeared, then, "Traitor. I've taught her better than that." I smiled and wrote back, "She's stubborn. Wonder where she gets that from." The response was quick. "Definitely your side of the family." For the first time in 10 years, I laughed with my sister. 6 months after the transplant, we held a small celebration at my parents' house. Elsie was in remission, her prognosis excellent. I stood awkwardly on the porch, unsure of my welcome, until Elsie burst through the door and threw her arms around me. "Bonus Mom is here," she announced. My mother appeared behind her, smiling nervously. "Come in, Audrey. Everyone's waiting." Everyone included my father, who stood stiffly by the fireplace. We hadn't spoken since the night he'd thrown me out. He looked older, his hair now completely gray. "Dad," I said, nodding. "Audrey," he replied. "You look well." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. For now, that was enough. Elsie grabbed my hand. "Come see my room. Mom said I could show you my art." As I followed her upstairs, Rebecca caught my eye and smiled. A real smile, not the tense politeness of the past months. Elsie's room was covered in drawings, landscapes, animals, people, and, prominently displayed above her desk, was the Chicago skyline I'd drawn for her in the hospital. "I practice every day," she told me proudly. "Mom says I'm getting as good as you." "Better," I said. "These are amazing, Elsie." She beamed. "I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, and a vet, and maybe a scientist too." "You can be anything you want," I assured her. "Even a big sister?" she asked slyly. "What?" "Mom has a boyfriend now," she whispered. "He's nice. He helped me build a birdhouse. Do you think they'll get married and have a baby?" "I don't know," I said, surprised by this news. "Would you like that?" She nodded enthusiastically. "Then, I'd have a brother or sister, and 2 moms and a dad who actually wants to be around." Her words hit me hard. "Elsie, your father's absence is not your fault. Some people just can't handle the hard parts of life. But so many people love you. Me, your mom, your grandparents." "I know," she said seriously. "I'm pretty lucky, even with the cancer and everything." I hugged her, marveling at her resilience. "Yes, you are. And we're all lucky to have you." The rest of the evening was surprisingly pleasant. My father remained reserved but civil. My mother hovered anxiously, trying to make sure everyone was comfortable. Rebecca introduced me to her new boyfriend, a pediatric oncologist who had treated Elsie. "He knows everything," she assured me quietly. "About James, about you, about Elsie. No more secrets. He seems nice," I said sincerely. "Elsie likes him." "She does," Rebecca agreed. "He's good for her. Good for me, too." "I'm glad," I said, and meant it. "You deserve to be happy, Rebecca." She looked at me for a long moment. "So, do you, Audrey? Have you been? Happy, I mean?" "I'm getting there," I said. "Having Elsie in my life helps. Having some kind of family again, it matters." "We have a lot to work through still," she acknowledged. "But I think we're on the right path." "Sisters again?" I asked hesitantly. "Sisters," she confirmed. "Complicated, messy sisters with a complicated, messy history. But sisters." Across the room, Elsie was showing her artwork to my father. To my surprise, he was smiling, genuinely interested in what she was saying. "She brings out the best in people," Rebecca observed. "Even Dad." "She's extraordinary," I agreed. "You did an amazing job raising her." "I did," Rebecca said. "But she's part you too, Audrey. That stubbornness, that creativity, that fire. That's all you." I felt tears threatening. "Thank you for sharing her with me. You didn't have to." "Yes, I did," Rebecca said simply, "because, despite everything, you're her mother too, and she needs you in her life. We all do." It's been 2 years since that first middle-of-the-night phone call. Elsie is 12 now, completely cancer-free, and splitting her time between Rebecca's house and my apartment. Rebecca married Dr. Mark, and they're expecting a baby in the spring. Elsie is ecstatic about becoming a big sister. My father and I have reached a fragile truce. We'll never be close, but we're civil for Elsie's sake. My mother calls weekly, still trying to make up for lost time. James remains absent, though he sends occasional birthday cards from somewhere in California. Elsie doesn't talk about him much anymore. She has Mark now, who coaches her soccer team and helps with her science projects. As for me, I'm finishing my degree in graphic design. I've started dating again, cautiously. Elsie approves of my current boyfriend, mainly because he has a golden retriever that she adores. Life isn't perfect. The past still casts shadows. There are days when old resentments resurface, when the weight of what we've all lost feels overwhelming. But then there are days like today, when Elsie bursts into my apartment, excited to show me her latest art project. When she hugs me and calls me bonus mom, with that mischievous grin. When Rebecca texts to ask if I can pick Elsie up from school tomorrow because she has a doctor's appointment for the baby. Normal, everyday family moments that once seemed impossible. 10 years ago, I made a terrible mistake. I betrayed my sister in the worst possible way. I lost everything. My family, my home, my sense of self. For a decade, I lived with that guilt, that shame, that isolation. But that midnight phone call changed everything. Elsie is sick. You're the only one who can save her. I didn't just save Elsie. In some way, she saved all of us. She forced us to face the past, to speak the truth, to find forgiveness. She gave us a reason to rebuild what was broken. Family isn't just blood. It's not just biology or genetics. It's the people who show up, who stay, who fight for each other. It's complicated and messy and imperfect, but it's worth saving. And sometimes it takes losing everything to find what matters most.